Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to explain about Web Application Firewall. A Web Application Firewall, also called as WAF, is a firewall that protects a web application against web application attacks. So basically, we need to understand three things here first. What is a web application? What are web application attacks? And what is a firewall? Let's start with understanding web applications. A web application is an application that runs on a browser like Chrome or Mozilla. This is how the architecture of a typical web application looks like. First, on the left, we have the person who uses a browser to access the application. Then you have a web server that takes the request from the browser and passes it to the app server for further processing. Examples of web server software includes Nginx, Apache, and IIS. We then have the application layer, which is basically the layer that handles the logic. It defines what to do with the request. If the request is to log in, it checks the credentials such as username and password and logs the user in. If the request is to update something, it checks if the user has the privilege to update, and if the user does, the application updates the data. There are various frameworks using which this layer can be built. Examples include Django and Laravel. You can also use different frameworks to handle the front end and the back end. Examples are React and Vue.js for front end and Fast API and Express for back end. Please note that in this case, we can also use Django and Laravel as the back end. These are just some examples of frameworks. There are many out there. The actual data though is stored in a database. There are many databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MS SQL. These are SQL databases. There are also many NoSQL databases such as MongoDB. The application layer interacts with the database to create, read, update, and delete data. By now, I hope you have understood the basics of what a web application is. So let's move forward. Now, typically, these web applications are publicly accessible because, we want people to use it. But since this is the real world, there are problems. See, when an application is publicly accessible, it is not just the good people who use it. There are bad people out there who wants to do bad things. Bad things can include trying to steal your sensitive information stored inside the application or make the application not usable for good people. They do this by exploiting weaknesses in the application. Weaknesses in the web applications are quite common. It exists due to various factors such as issues in design of the application or due to the fact that the application was not programmed or coded properly. After all, programmers are humans and we make mistakes. The OWASP Top 10 is a list of 10 most popular risks in an application. It includes risks such as broken access control, injection, misconfiguration, etc. There are many other types of risks, but these are the most common. The objective of any organization is to have as little weakness in an application as possible. To achieve this objective, they adopt various strategies such as threat modeling, secure coding, security code review, dynamic application security testing, etc. In addition to these controls, organizations also set up a web application firewall to protect the application from these attacks. But before we dive into WAF, let's understand what a normal firewall is. A firewall is a network device that is kept in between the untrusted public network, that is mostly the internet, and the trusted internal network of the organization. The objective of a firewall is to control the network traffic that comes into and goes out of the organization's network. The firewall is able to do these things by looking at the domain or IP address or port. These are basically layer 3 or 4 in the OSI model. Hence, it limits the firewall from protecting against web application attacks, which are primarily in the software layer of the OSI model, such as layer 5 to 7. This is where the web application firewall comes into the picture. It works in the software layer of the OSI model and is able to filter, monitor, and block any malicious HTTP or HTTPS traffic coming to the application. The WAF typically sits in front of the web server and makes use of predefined policies to determine which traffic is bad and which traffic is good. It only passes the good traffic to the web server for further processing. It can detect popular attacks such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting, CSRF, and much more. There are many web solutions such as AppRunner by Interface, Fortinet FortiWeb, Imperva Cloud Web, Microsoft Azure Web, F5, etc. More Security is an open source web which supports Nginx, Apache, and IIS. Now, only implementing WAF is not the foolproof solution against web application attacks. You must implement all the other controls such as threat modeling, secure coding, security code review, dynamic application security testing, etc. in your SDLC to properly protect your web application. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time for attackers to bypass the WAF. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope this video was useful to you, and if it was, then please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.